Done.
That night, a group of masked thieves carried out a daring heist inside a museum. Their plan did not last long, because the security team quickly discovered the break-in and a gunfight erupted through the halls. In the middle of the chaos, a stray bullet struck a statue and shattered it into pieces. From the debris, one of the thieves, a woman named Morgana, spotted a glowing fire opal. She picked it up and slipped it into her pocket before making her escape. As Morgana and her partner Eric tried to flee, a security guard intercepted them and fired at Morgana. The shot should have killed her. Instead, she survived, protected somehow by the fire opal she had taken. Suddenly, intense heat spread through the stone, burning her hand. Startled, Morgana dropped it to the floor. The opal split in two, and a vivid red light pulsed from inside the broken gemstone. Before she could process what was happening, another guard arrived and gunned down Eric. Furious and desperate, Morgana returned fire and killed the officer, but it was too late. Eric, bleeding and barely conscious, told her to run while she still could. Before Morgana could escape, something impossible happened. A dark, twisting tentacle emerged from the shattered opal and shot across the room, attaching itself to the wall behind Eric. He stared in terror as the tentacle grew, forming a pulsating mass. From it crawled a strange creature with a human-like face and two horns rising from its head. The creature, a being known as a Djinn, moved toward Eric and spoke calmly. He told Eric that he could grant him any wish he desired. Trembling with fear, Eric blurted out that he wished he had never been born. The Djinn granted the request instantly. Eric's body twisted and transformed in ways that defied reason, then vanished completely, as if he had never existed at all. A dark awakening had begun. This is Wishmaster 2, Evil Never Dies. By the time the police stormed into the museum, the Djinn had taken his true form back into hiding and secured the opal. An officer shouted for him to freeze. Taking the command literally, the Djinn caused the man to freeze solid until he died.
Freeze! Done.
Moments later, more officers arrived, but the Djinn had already transformed, appearing as an ordinary human under the name Nathaniel Demarest. Without resistance, he calmly surrendered. Later, at the police station, Demarest sat in an interrogation room across from Detective David. Demarest confessed to the museum robbery and the deaths of two guards. However, no weapon was found and none of the stolen artwork was recovered. David grew more and more frustrated. Demarest refused to explain anything about the heist, and instead asked the detective a simple question. What was his greatest desire? The next day, Morgana sat in front of her television, watching the news coverage of the museum heist. Panic washed over her. Someone had stepped forward and claimed responsibility for the robbery, something she never expected. Her anxiety grew worse when the report revealed another detail. The shattered statue from that night was not just any artifact. It was a relic over 3,000 years old. Inside the prison, Demarest was already at work. He whispered to the inmates that he could grant any wish they desired, in exchange for their souls. One prisoner, a man named John, wished he could simply walk out through the bars of his cell. Demarest granted the wish in the most literal way possible. John passed through the iron bars, only for his body to crush and tear apart in the process. Meanwhile, Morgana began having disturbing dreams. In her sleep she caught glimpses of the Djinn's monstrous true form. His voice echoed through her mind, urging her to fulfill a prophecy, reminding her that she was the one who awakened him. Morgana jolted awake, drenched in fear and struggling to breathe. The following morning, she went to a church and met Father Gregory, a man who had once been more than just a friend. Morgana tried to open up to him, but Gregory kept his distance, unwilling to let her in. Back in the prison, Demarest continued to tempt inmates into making wishes, introducing himself as the Wishmaster, a being who could deliver any desire. His strange behavior caught the attention of a prisoner named Butts, who confronted him with two of his men. Butts assumed Demarest was trying to move drugs and warned him not to challenge his control of the prison. Days passed, and Morgana's nightmares only grew darker. The Djinn's voice returned again and again, demanding that she complete the prophecy. Desperate for answers, she began studying ancient Persian mythology, including the tales of Ahura Mazda, guardian of the Stone of the Secret Fire. When Gregory finally came to see her again, Morgana poured everything out. She told him about the dreams, the voice, and the unending guilt she carried. She confessed to her role in the robbery and the death of the museum guard, a man who had left behind a wife and two small children. The burden was tearing her apart. Determined to confront the truth, Morgana went to the prison to meet Demarest face to face. She demanded to know why he had confessed to the crime. Demarest simply replied that he did it so she would not have to pay the price. He assured her he would not be in prison much longer. When Morgana asked about Eric, Demarest told her coldly that Eric no longer existed in this world. Then, without warning, he revealed his true form. Horrified, Morgana fled in terror. Elsewhere in the prison, Demarest received another visit from Butts and the men known as the Tiger Brothers. Believing Demarest to be a drug supplier, Butts demanded something that would send him into a complete frenzy. Demarest granted the wish. Butts lost control and was beaten to death by his own men. The chaos forced the guards to step in, and Demarest was thrown into solitary confinement as the prime suspect behind the series of gruesome incidents. Somewhere else in the city, Morgana continued her search for answers. She dug through pages of ancient history on the internet and uncovered a long-buried truth about the Djinn. At last, she realized what the fire opal really was. The stone she had taken from the shattered statue was the legendary stone of the secret fire, the very relic once used to imprison the Djinn thousands of years ago. Shaken by her discovery, Morgana rushed to share the information with Gregory. But Gregory believed she was still traumatized by Eric's death and dismissed her words as grief and guilt. Even so, he agreed to visit Demarest in prison. When Gregory finally met Demarest, he sensed something was terribly wrong. Demarest seemed to know who he was, even though Gregory had never told him he was a priest. Gregory warned him to stay away from Morgana. But Demarest responded by revealing details of Gregory's past with her, even mimicking Morgana's voice perfectly.
I want you, Gregory.
It was in that chilling moment Gregory understood. Demarest was not human. That night, Morgana and Gregory searched for more answers about the Djinn. They learned the true extent of his power. Once the Djinn gathers 1001 souls, he will grant 3 wishes to the one who awakened him. Gregory explained that the Djinn allowed himself to be imprisoned on purpose. In a place full of desperate men, wishes are easy to tempt. Determined to stop him, Morgana chose to purify herself. Only a heart free of sin could banish the Djinn back into his prison. She went to church to repent. She returned stolen paintings to the museum. She tried to cleanse her soul of every burden she carried. Meanwhile, in the prison, a guard named Tilaver confronted Demarest. In a moment of anger, Tilaver made a careless wish. The Djinn granted it in the most horrifying way. Soon after, another guard discovered Tilaver's real body, mutilated beyond recognition, while Demarest walked away in Tilaver's form. Disguised as the guard, he convinced an inmate named Ossip to escape with him, and together they slipped out of the prison. Later that night, Demarest and Ossip sat drinking in a bar. They were approached by Pushkin, a powerful crime boss who once commanded Ossip. After Pushkin left, Ossip confessed his dream of replacing him and becoming the next mafia king. With Demarest at his side, they visited Pushkin again and tricked him into voicing his desire. Pushkin, filled with hatred for a rival named Mustafa, spat out his wish. He wanted Mustafa's head. The Djinn granted the wish instantly. Pushkin's head transformed into Mustafa's, causing his own men to panic and raise their guns, convinced their boss was now their enemy. Ossip seized the moment, framing Pushkin as Mustafa and allowing the gang to drag him away. His wish had come true, and now he was eager to help Demarest collect the remaining 800 souls. But their plan did not go uninterrupted. Morgana suddenly appeared and fired a shot at Demarest. The bullet did nothing. He did not even flinch. Horrified and defeated, Morgana ran. Ossip, now face to face with the Djinn's true form, could only tremble in terror at the creature he had chosen to follow. Soon after, Gregory found Morgana in the church, kneeling at the altar in tears. She cried that the guilt she carried, the blood of an innocent museum guard, would never leave her. She believed that with such a stain on her soul, she could never defeat the Djinn. Gregory knelt beside her, offering comfort. He reminded her that she was not alone, and he vowed that with God's help, they would face whatever came next together. Determined to stop the Djinn, Morgana and Gregory tracked down Ossip, hoping he would reveal Demarest's location. But instead of talking, Ossip pulled a gun and shot Morgana. To everyone's shock, the wound vanished instantly, leaving no scar, no blood, nothing at all. It was undeniable proof. The power of the Djinn was real, and it was growing. Meanwhile, Demarest had made his way to Las Vegas, where gamblers risked everything for a chance at fortune. In that city of greed and desire, souls were easy to claim. Later that night, using Ossip's voice, Demarest called Morgana and lured her to Las Vegas. He was ready to fulfill the prophecy, and he needed her to speak the final 3 wishes. At the same time, Gregory uncovered an important truth in his ancient research. The Djinn was racing to gather 1001 souls, just as the prophecy demanded. In his readings, Gregory also discovered an ancient incantation, a spell once used by royal alchemists to imprison the Djinn long ago. Back in Las Vegas, Demarest granted wish after wish to eager gamblers inside a crowded casino, collecting the final souls he needed. Excitement filled the floor as the players kept winning, while the casino owner grew furious and confused. Hidden in the back office, Demarest finally revealed his true form and began claiming the souls of everyone who had made a wish. One by one, they dropped dead where they stood, their spirits seized by the Djinn. As chaos erupted across the casino floor, Morgana, riding in a taxi on her way into the city, doubled over in pain. She felt the Djinn pulling at her soul, demanding that she complete the prophecy. With a trembling voice, she told Gregory the terrifying truth. The Djinn had done it. He had gathered all 1001 souls. Morgana and Gregory finally arrived at the casino and stormed into Demarest's office. The Djinn was waiting. Calm and confident, he demanded that Morgana speak her 3 wishes. For her first wish, Morgana begged him to vanish from the world forever. But the Djinn merely smiled and told her that she could not erase what is eternal. As Morgana prepared to make her second wish, Gregory acted in secret. He snatched the opal from the desk and began reciting the ancient incantation. But something was wrong. The gem shattered in his hand. The opal was a fake. The Real stone was still in the Djinn's possession. Gregory tried again, holding up his crucifix and wishing the Djinn back into the depths of hell. Instead, a violent force ripped through the room, pulling all of them into the fiery dimension inside the stone itself. In that twisted world, Gregory was bound to a cross, helpless. Morgana fell to her knees, begging the Djinn to spare him. The Djinn granted her plea, but Gregory's life was already lost. Driven by grief and despair, Morgana cried out her next wish. She wanted a world without evil. But the Djinn answered coldly. Without evil, there can be no good. Balance would break, and existence itself would collapse. When Morgana refused to make another wish, the Djinn dragged her back into the casino and unleashed a nightmare on the world. Innocent people died screaming, and Morgana could do nothing but watch in horror. The Djinn pressed her again and again, demanding her final wish. Instead of answering, Morgana asked a question. What did it truly mean to fulfill the prophecy? The Djinn revealed the truth. Once 1001 souls were taken and the 3 wishes granted, the barrier would fall. His kind would rise, and the Djinn would rule the earth. In that moment, Morgana found clarity. With a steady voice, she made her true wish. She asked that the museum guard she had killed be brought back to life. At once, she saw a vision of the man alive and well. His wife, his 2 children, his future restored. And with that act of compassion, Morgana's heart was purified. Seizing her final chance, Morgana grabbed the real fire opal from the Djinn's grasp. She spoke the alchemist spell, Nib Shugaroth Bahim, again and again.
Nib Shugaroth Bahim!
The souls the Djinn had stolen began to return to their bodies. One by one, the dead opened their eyes. The spell continued to build until the Djinn was pulled screaming back into the stone, sealed away once more. The nightmare ended. The fire opal dimmed. And Morgana had saved the world. Moments later, she reunited with Gregory in a vision of peace, and the 2 embraced with relief and joy. At last, the terror of the Djinn was over. So the moral of the story is do not touch cursed gems, do not trust creepy wish-granting strangers, and for the love of everything, be careful what you wish for because it might get you erased from existence.